How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my small engine repair channel. Today's project is on this Craftsman branded push mower with a Briggs and Stratton engine, and the problem we're having with it is it has no compression. So let's take a look at it and see what we're going to do about it. Alright, so welcome back to the channel. Like I said, this mower has no compression for the engine. When you pull it over, there's zero resistance. And that's a sure sign of zero compression. Two other ways you can really test for compression is you can get a compression tester and take off your spark plug and hook that up, and then try and spin the mower over as best you can. A lot of times you won't get a good reading on that because you can't spin it over fast enough to build up enough compression, because there's a compression release to help to actually offset the compression when you're starting it, so that it's not as difficult to pull it over. And a lot of times that'll give you a false reading. So the other way you can just check quickly is to remove the spark plug and stand back from the mower. Have somebody else pull the cord while you're pushing your finger over top of the hole. And if it's trying to suck your finger in during part of it and push your finger out during part of it, that's a pretty good indicator that there actually is compression. So those are the three main ways you can test for compression on an engine. This one in particular definitely has zero compression. So I've already troubleshot why this has zero compression. There's really kind of two main reasons why this thing could be not having compression, and both of them are internally underneath what we call the head. This is the head. These are head bolts, and this is the head of the engine. This front piece comes off. It's only about 1.5 to 2 inches thick, and underneath that is where your piston goes up and down in the cylinder, and then you have valves as well that open and close during the different strokes of the four cycle engine. And a lot of times what's going on here is that there's something going on with the valves. If the valves are not opening and closing, or they're not closing properly, like 100%, you're going to get some leakage out of there. Now, another reason is that if the engine is blown and you've blown the connecting rod, then that piston will not be going up and down, and therefore it won't be compressing the air and fuel mixture inside of the head of this engine. So that could be another reason. That is usually indicative of a loud bang, some puffing black smoke or white smoke, and then the engine just quits real quick while it's being used. You don't see that very often on lawnmower engines. I see it more so in snowblower engines. So that's not likely to be the case. And if it is the case, you're likely to hear a bunch of rattling going on in there as well when you're trying to pull the cord over. The last thing could be, the most common things could be, the last of the most common things could be, is the head gasket. So there's a gasket in between this head, which only goes this far, and the block of the engine. So there's a gasket there. If that's blown, then all that compression is just seeping out between that broken gasket. So I've already troubleshot this particular motor, and the problem with it is the exhaust valve is the bottom one on this particular mower. The exhaust valve in the engine is warped, and it is not closing and sealing off properly. So when it tries to build that compression, when it tries to squeeze that fuel air mixture, it's just going out the intake valve. Sorry, it's the intake valve on this particular one, not the exhaust valve. So either way, it's not providing a good seal when it's supposed to, and it's just blowing that compression right out through that valve. So the fix for that would be to obviously replace the valve. That requires you to take the head off, probably replace the head gasket, get a new valve, and then you're going to have to lap that valve to the new seat, or to the old seat, I'm sorry. And that process is pretty labor intensive, and it's not 100% foolproof, to be honest with you. So the other alternative is to find a replacement motor. Now I happen to have this motor. It's also a Briggs and Stratton. This one is 6.75 foot-pounds of torque. This one is 7.25 foot-pounds of torque. Both of them are 190 cc's. So to be honest with you, they're pretty much the exact same engine. So I'm going to show you how to swap out an engine on one of these particular mowers. It's a pretty simple process, and in most cases shouldn't take you really any more than about 10 minutes, to be honest. Okay, so the first thing you need to do here is to disconnect the cable, the drive cable. And what you're going to need to do is get yourself a pair of pliers, and you can see that there are a couple of tabs right there. You push those two tabs, and then the whole shroud part of it goes through this little bracket, and then you can lift it up and then go ahead and take this. This is a Z-bend on that. So you just lift it up and pull it out, like rotate it 90 degrees and pull it out. The other thing you're going to need to do is to disconnect the pull cord, and in most cases that's as easy as just undoing this little handle here. Harder to do when you got one hand, but here we go, easy peasy. So next thing I'll do is just work on this throttle, or this brake cable. I call it brake band cable. Or so again, we're just pushing it, those two tabs together, and trying to get it, pull it through. I'm trying to do this without blocking your view as well. Okay, here we go, and then you just lift it out. So the next thing we need to do is to flip the mower over on its side so we can access the mounting bolts of the engine from the bottom side of this mower. So before we can pull the mower off of the deck here, and there's 1, 2, 3 bolts for that, we got to take off our blade here. Looks like 5/8, sometimes 5/8, sometimes 9/16. Okay, that's good. Now we have access to these 3 bolts here on this particular mower. It happens to be a 9/16 bolt. I'm going to leave one of these top ones in. I'll take the bottom one out here. Now sometimes these bolts get rusted to the deck, or sorry, to the underside of the motor, and if you plan on reusing this motor, you got to make sure that you don't snap these heads off of these bolts. Ask me how I know that. Now, I don't plan to use this motor again. It's just going to be for parts now, but I'd still prefer not to snap those off. And this last one, I'm just going to hold this. Just be careful because this motor is going to fall out. You can hold it from the top side here as well. Alright, just be careful. Alright, that's it. That's as easy as it gets. Now, putting the new one on, new one on, it's a little harder to line up that first bolt. So I typically will just go ahead and do it from the top side and access one or two of these bolts just to get them started, and then I can go ahead and flip it on its side after that. Now this particular motor, a lot of these motors are interchangeable as far as mounting. There's 1, 2, 3, sometimes they have 4, but you only use 3 typically mounting bolts. So I'm just gonna take the blade off of this guy. I'm gonna compare the size of it too, because sometimes the size of the blades are, fitted to the size of the deck. And I compare the two blades, they're exactly the same size, so that's good. I'm gonna leave the blade off anyways, because I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and sharpen that up. And then I'm just going to line that up fairly close. Alright, so I kind of got it lined up with the holes pretty close. Just going to reach under here there and try and get it started through the deck, and then line it up with the engine. Just get a couple of threads going on there. This side happens to have 2 of the bolts. And we do the same thing at the back side here. Just get a couple of these started. Alright, and now go ahead. Now I can get the third one started here. You might have to wiggle the engine around just a little bit. And then these bolts happen to be only 1/2 inch. Doesn't really make a big difference, to be honest, what size they are. The threads are probably exactly the same. I could probably use the other bolts on here if I wanted. Okay, I'm going to leave that off for now. Obviously I'm going to scrape this off. So that's that. Put my cable back on. So just put that in and turn it 90 degrees. And then looks like this cable's kind of mashed up a little bit here. Okay. And then I'm going to need 2 hands, I think, because I'm going to need to pull this back. Just connect it to the brake assembly underneath here on the flywheel, so I can get more cable length out of this thing. There we go. That's good. Excellent. And then the pull cord will just go back up to the top here. Okay, so literally that's it, guys. I mean, might have taken 5 or 10 minutes less if I was explaining things. It wasn't explaining things. I think I do like the black cover, so I'm probably going to swap that out. But other than that, guys, pretty simple. I mean, the hardest part, of course, is obtaining a new engine that's going to fit on there. But anyways, guys, hopefully this was helpful. If you liked the video, please show me a little love. Smash the like button down below. And if you're not a subscriber, consider doing so. That really helps me out on my channel. Until our next project, guys, take care.